All right, we are less than 2 weeks away from UFC Vegas 29 at the Apex, which will feature a very intriguing main event at 145 pounds between Dan Ige and my guest of this time, the Korean Zombie, Sung Jung. And he's also being joined by his coach, Eddie Cha, who will join us and translate, which I greatly appreciate. Gentlemen, thank you for doing this. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate the time very much. We're a week and a half or so away from this fight as we record. First fight since the matchup with Brian Ortega. So, Sung, how excited are you to get back on the horse against a really tough opponent in Dan Ige?
아직 타이틀에 도전할 수 있는 기회가 남아 있는 것 같고, 그 실력을 그렇게 할 수 있다는 실력을 보여줘야 되는 시합인 것 같아요.
He says he's excited to get back in the ring. He still feels like a title contention is possible for him. And, this fight is the first step to that direction.
The fight with Ortega didn't go your way. And, from reading various articles, it seemed like you took the loss pretty hard and you kind of had to take a deep look in the mirror after the fact. Is that accurate? And if so, can you elaborate on that further?
시합을 지는 거는 항상 힘든 거는 맞고, 네, 그때 시합을 그렇게 중요한 시합인데 내가 한 번도 이렇게 한국에서 승부를 준비해야겠다는 생각을 좀 잘못했던 것 같아요. 그래서 이제 미국으로 오게 되고 그 경기를 지게 돼서 오히려 더 많이 배우게 된 것 같아요.
He says losing is always hard, whether it was the Ortega or anything like that. So that part is true. He might have underestimated or made a slight mistake of actually running camp in Korea. So that's why he's back in the States, which we're 2-0 when we win camp out here. And just looking to turn things around, I mean, it's not his first loss. Hopefully it's his last, but it's just a part of fighting, and he's ready to show his skill set this fight.
Eddie, question for you. What do you think could have been done differently in that fight against Brian Ortega? Was there like something that you saw that you were just like, man, if we just did this? I know it's like hindsight and the fight is over and it's behind you guys, but is there something that you saw that you're like, man, if we were just able to like implement this a little bit better, maybe things would have gone our way?
Yeah, I mean, we could have started a little bit faster. It was our intention to kind of feel out round one and really pick it up in round two, which he did. And then, he just got caught a little bit with that elbow. But, I know Zombie wanted to wrestle that camp and do all sorts of stuff. We kind of prevented him from doing that. Felt like that might have been a slight mistake as well. And he has a great ground game. He's got a great wrestling game and everything like that. So, lesson learned. In hindsight, it's easy to say we should have done this, we should have done that. But I feel like it takes away from Brian's win. I thought he fought great. He did what he had to do. And so, we'll just kind of leave it at that.
Fair enough. I appreciate the candor there. And Sung, when did you sort of like turn the corner and say, you know what, enough thinking about the Brian Ortega fight. Let's get a new fight on the books. Let's get back in there and do this thing.
바로 그런 생각을 했지만, 은퇴해야겠다는 생각도 조금 하긴 했지만, 은퇴를 하지 않는다면 내가 빨리 돌아와서 그때 실력이 내가 아니었다는 걸 증명하고 싶었어요.
He thought about getting on track kind of right away after the fight. He had a slight doubt of possibly retiring, but then that didn't last too long. He wanted to go back in there and show his skill sets and what he wasn't able to do that fight and get back to training.
Why were you thinking about retiring? I know you changed your mind, but why did it get to that place?
제 생각으로는요.
아마 모든 선수들이 시합을 지게 되면 잠깐은 할 거라고 아마 모든 선수들이 아마 잠깐은 할 거라고.
He thinks most athletes, when you take a loss like that, especially in the higher levels, everybody thinks about slightly retiring. He truly believes that. So it doesn't last too long. It does definitely creep in your head.
Yeah, especially in this crazy sport of ours. And now you're going to fight Dan Ige, who had the loss to Calvin Kattar last year, but then he bounced back with a 22-second knockout win over Gavin Tucker. And then after that performance, he called you out, Sung. It didn't take long for the fight to get put on the books. How did you react to Dan's performance and then him calling you out after the fact?
지금 페더웨이트에서 마땅히 저랑 싸울 만한 사람이 없는 것 같고 뭐 다른 랭커들은 다 기다려서 뭐 좋은 상대를 받고 뭐 그러는데 뭐 어쨌든 그런 좋은 퍼포먼스를 보여준 선수가 나랑 싸울 수 있는 자격이라고 있다고 나는 생각하게 됐고.
He thinks everybody in his division right now is either locked up with somebody, they all got opponents lined up. So with Dan Ige's last performance, he feels like he's an adversary opponent. And there's nobody really left right now. I mean, Khabib's retired or injured. Holloway was waiting for the belt. Yair got him. So if you look at the top five, I mean, Ortega's getting the title shot. And so all that was literally left. Kattar wasn't ready to perform. He's still concussion protocol. There was nobody really left but Ige. So the fight technically kind of was the only fight to make, and that made sense.
Did the UFC like approach him about a different fight, maybe with Kattar or anybody, like before finding out that it was going to take a little bit of extra time for him to get his mind right after the Holloway fight?
They did. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I know it just didn't pan out. I don't think the timeline worked, but yeah, they did offer him and a couple of one other guy, but they were both weren't ready.
And for Zombie, do you feel like this is the right fight to come back to after that last fight? Like, does this one get you excited? Does it get your blood pumping? Or like Eddie just said, is it just kind of, this is the fight I have to take right now?
뭐 타이틀에 도전하려면 싸워야 되는 게 맞는 것 같고, 그냥 그런 뭐 어쩔 수 없이 싸우고 이런 건 없는 것 같아요. 저는 그냥 싸우고 싶고 데니게이라는 선수와 싸울 수 있어서 좋습니다.
He thinks it's the fight he has to take in order to get a title shot. Like we talked about, there's not really anybody left, and he's excited to fight Dan. He thinks he's an adversary opponent. He thinks it's going to be a good fight, and you know, every fight you got to be focused and kind of looking forward to it. Otherwise, you're going to go in underestimating a guy. We're not underestimating Dan by any means. I think he's a really, really good fighter. He was on a 6-fight win streak. The kid is really good. I mean, the guys he's beat, his record speaks for itself. He's ranked number 7, and he's a dangerous, dangerous kid.
I know you want to get back to the belts. That's a big goal of yours. How close do you think you are? Like, if you beat Dan Ige, where does that put you in this division?
일단은 사실 내가 이번에 이기면 할로웨이랑 싸우겠다고 얘기를 하려고 했는데 어쨌든 할로웨이가 야이랑 싸우게 됐고, 그리고 챔피언은 올테가랑 싸우고, 지금 근데 그래서 봐야 될 것 같아요. 어떻게 될지. 근데 뭐 누가 부상을 당할 수도 있는 거고 뭐 일이 생길 수도 있고 그런 거니까 그런 상황을 봐야 될 것 같아요.
Yeah, his goal was actually call out Holloway after this fight, but Holloway got Yair, and Ortega's fighting the champ Volkanovski, and we just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, with injuries and the division, the way it's mixing up, so he's just going to kind of see how it plays out. Can't control anything like that, so his goal is just to win first. Once he beats Dan, and then see how everything else plays out, and then we'll kind of go from there.
And Eddie, obviously, Extreme Couture has been a staple of the sport for a little while now. Eric Nixick has become one of the premier coaches in the sport. He's got some world champions in the camp right now. I know a fight is a fight. You got to treat every fight as such. But for you, is there a little extra motivation being able to coach against a guy like Eric?
No, I know Eric pretty well.
I know.
We there's no bad blood or anything like that. We've actually used one of his guys for a camp for Eric Anders' last camp, Ryder, and nothing but good things to say about his camp, his gym, Eric. I think Danny is a class act. I've been watching almost all his interviews and stuff like that. You know, like so it's just a fight. You know, like we're on other sides right now, but at the end, I hope we can all shake hands and go have a beer or do something else. I mean, we've competed against all the top coaches in the world. You know, it's a small industry, so when you get to a certain level, you're going to compete against everybody. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge. But we're not fighting the camps. We have a general idea of what they might run and things like that. But it's going to boil down to the individual making the right decisions and doing the right things in the cage. You know, I truly believe coaching only goes so far. The fighter is what's going to make a difference in this. He's going to have to push through. He's going to have to make the reads, you know, and certain things, and we'll definitely help him make adjustments. But at the end of the day, this is why the fighters get all the credit, because they deserve it.
How do we get this thing done, Chen Sung? How do you close the show next Saturday against Dan Ige? How do we get this thing done?
이거 다음 주에 어떻게 이길 거냐고. 이거 어떻게 끝낼 거냐고.
항상 게임 플랜은 디시즌으로 이기는 것을 생각하고 있지만, 내가 이렇게 준비한 걸 보면, 스파링을 하는 걸 보면, 뭐, 넉아웃 시켜도 이상하지 않고, 서브션 시켜도 이상하지 않을 것 같아요.
His game plan is always to go a decision and finish it. We train that way for camp the whole time, but he's not surprised if he gets a knockout or if he gets a submission or anything like that. He feels like he can go any which way. I'm sure they feel the same way as well. You know, they both have wins on the ground and fields and so forth. So this is what makes it an intriguing fight. Everyone thinks it's going to be a banging fight. Might be a wrestling match, might be a jiu-jitsu match, who knows? But anything can happen, and that's why the sport is so exciting when you got two guys like that going to the cage. You're 19.
So I'm glad you're here. There's a few other things I did want to ask you about, Chen Sung. First of all, I was so fascinated by the video you put out about different ways that fighters can cheat on the scales during the weigh-ins, like different tricks fighters can use to like defeat the scale. What inspired you to make that video?
이건 클린한 파이트가 당연히 돼야 되고, 뭐, UFC에서는 의사다가 있으니까 그런 스테로이드나 이런 거는 뭐 적어도 나올 수도 있지만, 그런 것들은 사실 직접 이렇게 누가 이렇게 말하지 않으면 사실 모르는 거거든요.
He just said he wants to just keep it a clean sport. You know, we have USADA for the drug testing, the PEDs and stuff like that, and the commission is technically in charge of watching the weight scales and stuff, but he just wants it to be fair and kind of educate all the corners and everybody to actually look for those kind of things, because he just doesn't feel like it's fair. He doesn't do that. You know, maybe I told him to kind of be careful on it, because now you're throwing people under the bus. But he's like, I didn't say any names. I go, no, you're not. But it's still, I'm sure your peers aren't going to appreciate this. But that's the way he is. He's always done things the right way. He's never done anything to break the sports rules or anything like that. And so he just wanted to kind of educate the sport, the people, knowing what to look for. So it's a lot harder to kind of cheat, so to speak.
Yeah, it was wild to watch that whole video.
I was surprised.
Yeah, I was like, what? I was like, I didn't even think that was even possible, especially like at this level, because now there's only like a person or two up on the stage. So I'm like, how could you even do this now? But I guess we'd be surprised, right?
Yeah, I've known a lot of those tricks, and I've heard a lot of stories. I've seen them happen, but there's no way I'd definitely speak on that, you know?
Right. Do you have a prediction for the title fight between Volkanovski and Ortega? I mean, you face one of those men. Who do you think wins that fight?
Volkanovski Ortega 누가 이길까? 이건 싸움이었으니까.
사실 얼마 전까지만 해도 볼카노스키가 이길 것 같다고 생각을 했는데, 이제 오르테가가 이길 수 있는 가능성도 많이 있는 것 같아요. 볼카노스키가 다리를 잡고 테이크다운을 하지는 못할 것 같고요. 그래서 이제 스트라이킹으로 가게 되면 끝나게는 올테가는 스탠스를 양쪽 다 바꿀 수 있으니까 다리에 데미지를 입히기에는 너무 좀 오래 많이 차야 되니까 올테가가 펀치로 이길 수 있지 않을까 생각합니다.
A while back, he thought that Volkanovski would be able to win that fight. But the more and more he kind of thinks about it and looks at that fight, he thinks Ortega has a good chance of winning. The switching stance, the leg kicks. He doesn't think that Volkanovski will most likely try to take him down. If he does, it might be a mistake. Who knows, you know? But if he keeps it standing, the switching stance, the leg kicks, and the punching pop that Ortega has, he definitely has a chance in that fight.
And then last thing from me, after getting a win for BKFC, Leonard Garcia officially announced his retirement from combat sports. And obviously you've had some incredible moments in the cage with Leonard Garcia. The first fight was one of the greatest fights of all time. And then you caught him with the first twister submission in UFC history. So I wanted to get your thoughts on Leonard retiring and those two incredible moments, those fights that you had with him.
Leonard Garcia가 은퇴했대. 그래가지고 네가 두 번 싸워서 기가 막힌 시합을 해가지고 내가 은퇴하는 걸 어떻게 생각해가지고 얘기했기.
레오나르도 가르시아랑은 얘기를 시합 때 말고는 한 적도 없고 만나서 친구도 아니지만은 사실 말은 안 통하지만 서로 이런 대화도 같은 그런 감정이 저한테 있어요. 그래서 그가 은퇴한다고 했을 때 조금 슬프다고 해야 되나? 그런 것도 조금 있었고, 이제는 서로 같이 나이를 들어가니까 그럴 수 없는 부분인 것 같아요.
He said he's had two amazing fights with him. He hasn't had a relationship where he was able to talk to him, or it's not like they called each other or anything in between those fights or anything like that. But he does feel a sense of closeness to him, the ring time and the fights that they did share. And so he was a little, like, maybe sad a little bit that he retired, but at the same time, it's a part of aging in the sport is that you do have to retire. So, but he does feel a sense of like a brotherhood, kind of a closeness that he has, that he shared the ring with him. So he wishes him the best, and he did hear about him retiring.
That's great. Well, we are looking forward to another incredible fight with Dan Ige next weekend. Main event of UFC Vegas 29, the Korean Zombie and Eddie Cha joining us on the show this week. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and all the best to you next Saturday.
Thanks, brother. Love your show as well, man. Always listening to you guys.
Thank you.